And we went around the table, as many people do on Thanksgiving, and say what we're thankful for. We get to my youngest child, and she says, "I'm thankful for my mom's sweet potatoes at my house."
Oh,
I literally wanted to die and crawl underneath the table, because here we are having this beautiful meal with our neighbors who have been kind enough to include us. And I do feel like it's a big circle of giving, and the circle always comes around. So we invite people to our house every year. If you don't have some place to go, come to our house. So here we are. Someone has invited me. I take them up on it. And what does my kid do? Trashes their sweet potato souffle, which was delicious, by the way.
welcome to Beats Working, winning the game of events, where we share stories and strategies to turn any event or life moment into something unforgettable.
Events are wild, and the people who work in them are some of the most resilient humans on Earth. If you know, you know.
So come with us behind the curtain for a look at their most memorable experiences.
As they say, the show must go on, so let's get on with the show. Welcome back to another episode of Beats Working, winning the game of events. Whether it's with the family you were born into, the friends you picked along the way, or a handpicked holiday crew you only see once a year, gathering during the holidays is both an art and an adventure. And in this episode of the Fun Table, we're exploring the many flavors of holiday gatherings. If you've ever felt like you needed a seating chart, a safe word, or a solid casserole dish, I think they call that a hot dish in the Midwest, to get you through the season, this one is for you. Welcome, Fun Table. Thank you. You had me at hot dish.
Oh, yeah, Libby, look at those
You
glasses.
are a hot dish.
Just a little elf in here. In case you can't see me, I have my glittery elf sunglasses on. I just found them, and my husband keeps trying to get me to get rid of them every year, and I keep
Oh my goodness,
for this
never.
episode.
You need, this is exactly proof why you need them.
Never. I keep them in a basket under the coffee table from December 1st to December 26th. Necessary.
Perfection.
Yeah. Love it.
Okay, I want to start by hearing your favorite holiday gathering moments, either ones that melted your heart or made you want to melt into the floor. I feel like I have a lot of both, but one of my favorite just heart melting memories is of my boys. They're now 4 and 8, but a couple of times through the year. So maybe this isn't one memory. This is like many memories blended into one. But a couple of times throughout the year, they will remind me that our Christmas tradition is that my mom and my stepdad and my brother come up from Pendleton and they stay with us. One year they couldn't because it was like snowy. The weather was really bad. And my oldest son was devastated until we made him realize we'd have a do-over later. But I love my family, and I just love that it is like, you know, it can be a lot when you have 2 kids, 2 adults, and then you add 3 more adults, and 2 of them are of a senior age, but you guys look wonderful. I'm sure you're listening. And it can be a lot, but they don't see it. They love it. They think it's so fun, and it wouldn't be the same to them without it. So melts my heart every time.
I love that.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
This is Alysse, and I have a little melty story. This was back when Jacob was little. And one of the traditions that I have with my family is that we go to the Christmas Eve service, which may or may not fall on actual Christmas Eve. That doesn't really matter. But he was they encourage little kids to wear pajamas. They probably still do. I don't know. But he was wearing Buzz Lightyear pajamas because this was back when Toy Story 1 was brand new. And so it got to that. Yeah, just yesteryear. It got to that point in the service where we'd sung, several hymns. And now they ask all the kids, little kids in the pajamas, to come up onto the stage so they can tell them a story. And so Jacob just runs off, in his little Buzz Lightyear pajamas. And then whoever starts reading the story of Mary and Joseph, and they're going through it, and Jacob has a hard time sitting still, and he just starts exploring the stage. And this particular stage setup had like choir levels that went way up, and then there was like another thing that went way up, and all you see is Buzz Lightyear like climbing to the top of whatever, and I'm just mortified. And my mom and my sister are looking at me like, are you going to do something? And I'm just like, no, I'm not. And my sister, yeah, I was like, I'm not, he's going to run if I go up there, you know? So my sister went in after him. And to this day, when we go home, there are certain people that were there that are still going to that church that will always remember Jacob as Buzz Lightyear totally winning Christmas Eve.
Oh my gosh,
winning that
I love
Christmas
that
Eve event.
so much.
Jacob.
So we're a military family, and I love the tradition that you shared, Libby, and the Buzz Lightyear. I'm going to bring both of those together. Because we're a military family, traditions and rituals are really important, because no matter where we are, the kids always feel grounded because we do the same thing. For all the holidays, we've got traditions that we practice so that the kids felt connected and they didn't feel like they were so far away from home or they were missing something. We got invited to Thanksgiving dinner one year at our neighbor's house, and I took them up on the offer because I was home and their dad was deployed. He'd been gone for 3 months at that point in time. So I was accepting help in any form. We go to Thanksgiving dinner, and I am so happy that I don't have to make Thanksgiving dinner, because that is, we have the same menu. They finally gotten old enough now that they're adults that they're willing to flex on the menu. At the time, we had the same thing to eat every year at Thanksgiving. And we went around the table, as many people do on Thanksgiving, and say what we're thankful for. We get to my youngest child, and she says, I'm thankful for my mom's sweet potatoes at my house. I literally wanted to die and crawl underneath the table, because here we are having this beautiful meal with our neighbors who have been kind enough to include us. And I do feel like it's a big like circle of giving, and the circle always comes around. So we invite people to our house every year. If you don't have some place to go, come to our house. So here we are. Someone has invited me. I take them up on it. And what does my kid do? Trashes their sweet potato souffle, which was delicious, by the way. So we had to go home. We enjoyed our Thanksgiving. Everybody laughed because she was so little, but she was serious. So when we got home, all 3 kids cornered me, and they were like, we expect Thanksgiving tomorrow. And we had our full traditional Thanksgiving the next day, which was much more low pressure. But oh my goodness, talk about wanting to melt and hide underneath a table all at the same time.
You know what though, and this is Kristin. It just shows the things that matter in that what we offer, and I think that was so expressive and lovely, because you can plan. Hello, as all events planners and listeners out there are doing, you can plan all the details, but you can't plan for what's going to sink into somebody's heart. And so that sweet potato moment is actually, well, sweet. And it kind of goes to show that traditions matter.
Yeah.
You
For
never know
over a
what-
decade, we talk about the sweet potatoes before we eat. Like, I don't even think anybody eats them anymore, but we make sure we have them on the table so that we honor that funny memory.
See, that's the best part. The unplanned and sometimes cringy turns into a memory. Just to be clear, was anybody else here planning to invite themselves over to Dele's house to try those sweet potatoes? Because
Table's always set. Anybody's welcome.
that's actually a true
Come on
story for
inside. We
listeners
will
at
have a
home.
plate for you, and the door's always open.
It's actually always set.
The table is always set and dressed.
It is a true story.
Mhm.
It's a true story. So on an additional melty moment story, and holidays, regardless of how you celebrate, can also be hard when people are missing, kind of like Libby's story, either missing physically, or I'm remembering my dad died right in the fall. And so the holidays was the first milestone. Milestones with grief are always a challenging thing, especially then when you have kids or you're trying to still make it special. And I remember all of us adults were kind of heavy going into it and had planned extra for the presents and the things for the kids. And I remember my oldest turning to us at one point and said, Papa doesn't have any presents under the tree. And so instead of, even though he knew Papa was in heaven, that's my ring, by the way,
Jingle,
a ring
jingle.
of joy. We went out and got balloons and everybody wrote messages for Papa, put helium in them, and then released them as presents in heaven. And another, Dele, you reminded me of that unplanned, like wouldn't have seen it from the child's eyes, but it ended up turning into this crazy upside down. We're trying to find helium like during the holidays or I suppose any time of year. And then one of the balloons got caught in a tree and we were at the cemetery. My brother had to climb up on a headstone and release it. And we were so worried about, eternal damnation. But all of a sudden there was floating wishes up in the sky. And that was better than anything in a box that year.
What a beautiful tradition. I'm going to borrow that and I will think of you one day when I am doing
Looking for
something
the
very
balloons.
similar.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got one too, based off of Alysse sharing about Jacob and the Buzz Lightyear pajamas. One year, about, I don't know, pre-COVID. So isn't that kind of the way it is? Like pandemic is like pre and post, right? At least in my mind. And our church put on a little choir production. We're in a little church at this point. And so we had my 4 littles with us and they were all in the production. And the person who was leading this production was trying to figure out a way to engage the kids. Because usually, you've got the kids who are lifting up their dress and, the audience loves it, right? But I think for the director, they feel a little bit like, oh my gosh, like really, like all these hours and this is what happens, And I think it's just a wee bit frustrating, although they can appreciate it. But anyway, the leader of this production had this idea and I just thought it was brilliant. I've never seen anything cuter. She got every kid up there a fake microphone. And so every single child was up there just belting out the Christmas jams with a fake mic. And it looked like, I don't even know, like Kool and the Gang combined with Earth, Wind, and Fire. Like everybody had a mic and was giving it their all and just pretending, it was their show, like solo. And it was so cute. And I just love those new and fresh things that I can't think of that stuff. And it was a moment of brilliance, I thought. So yay, hashtag, thanks, Kelsey.
That is fantastic because I have a pink microphone and if I can't take it with me, I don't want it.
We tried to do karaoke at Christmas this last year and it was a raucous thing. I think we might tone it down a little bit this year. Karaoke will still be involved, but I think we might take our celebration down just a little bit of a notch. Kristin, I love that story that you shared because the holidays can be so hard for somebody navigating grief. And, especially right now in these times when we have burnout and inflation and emotional fatigue. There are so many things that we and the people in our lives are, just dealing with and just surviving, thriving and surviving on a daily basis. And how, it's just, how do we show up for each other during the holidays, personally or at events? How do we make room for those kinds of feelings, for that kind of baggage to come into the events that we're hosting or that we're attending, I guess?
It's such a good question. And one thing, when I was raising my kids, we had different religions. So we always called it our Christmaka season. But more than that, we tried to stress the religion side more, and then the commonality and the people. But you have such a good point because there's a lot of There's a lot of rawness, whether you're navigating grief, as I shared, or loneliness. You can be around a lot of people and still be carrying loneliness. And of course, differences. One of the things that we chose to do is find commonality and gratitude. So we did two things and it could be for any holiday, including ones that we're thankful for. But in a bowl in the middle of the table, everybody had index cards or Post-it notes. I love me my Post-it notes, to write down throughout the course of the day and the dinner into the middle of just thankfuls, pop-up thankfuls. And then throughout, anybody could stick their hand in the middle, pull one out, not attributed to anybody, and read some grateful or thankful. Another thing that we did, and this does depend on who's around the table, but it could be a good joining force, is we put somebody's name at the top of the piece of paper or card, pass it around, and everybody writes something on it that they are thankful about that person for. So again, you have to trust the audience, what goes on there, and the level of calories and other intakes. But based on some of that, finding the common ground in gratitude instead of in organized or prescriptive ways.
I would say our thing that we've done recently within the past decade is we don't do gifts for adults anymore, which sort of had a little bit of a stop and start. Yeah, it was kind of just one of those things where it was like, you know what? Do we really need to do this? Maybe not. And so now we take that money and we go and we do an experience together. We go on vacation together. We go see like a play together or whatever. And it's much more meaningful, I think, at least for me it is. Might not actually be a well-sold activity to those who are, like young adults, for example, who might be super broke. But by and large, we've had a positive response, unless they're just hiding it from me, which is always a possibility.
Well, Amy, though, presents are so stressful. It's like, and it could be from birthdays to graduations, not just end of year holidays. They can be super stressful. And back to the spirit of gratitude, finding, or sometimes we'll do those adopt an angel or something, put the money that we spend on each other into something that way. So it's really hard to shop.
Yeah, we gave up presents a long time ago. I don't know, many years before COVID. We might still do like stockings because my dad actually really doesn't like the fact that we don't do gifts. So they're, if it can fit in the stocking, then maybe you'll get something in there. But the idea is really, no more gifts. And I just find that so refreshing because it allows us to focus on what the season is actually about. And that's spending time with the people that you care about, or going out and being of service to others. There's many years, whether it was Thanksgiving holiday or Christmas holiday, where we went out to different places and served people food or took them things. And that was much more rewarding than opening up a new set of bath bombs.
I got to tell you, we are a big stocking family. Not stocking as in STALKING, but stocking as in STOCKING. They were always very big at my house. You got like some of pretty much your best things came in the stocking. It probably started, as all good traditions do, with me, because I was born on December 17th. Oh, just a mere 8 days before Christmas. So I was born in a snowstorm on December 17th, as my mom likes to say, in Pendleton, Oregon. And they took me home from the hospital in a stocking. I was probably actually in a car seat, but truly there's a picture of me in this big red stocking. It's the stocking I've used every year. You can fit a newborn baby in it. And you guys, I was pushing 10 pounds. So I was not a little baby. I was a big baby. So this is a big stocking. This has always been my stocking. It is now my stocking at my house with my family. And stockings were the thing. And so I do that at my house. Unfortunately, I've got to rein it in because now the stockings are like a mountain beneath, and then the stockings. Stockings can't hang. They have to be on the ground because they're too heavy. You know, they can't hang on a mantle. There's too many things in there. So I might have to scale it back a little bit this year, but stockings are where it's at. And even in my family now, like when my family comes for Christmas, we're like, okay, no gifts. We're not going to do any gifts. We can do stockings though. We'll fill stockings. But I mean, you still get presents in your stocking because they're just stacked underneath, which is great and also a little stressful. But okay, that was my stocking diatribe.
I just need to know for the stocking stuffers in the room, how many of you were raised with an orange or a tangerine in the toe?
I didn't, but I did always get a can of olives every year.
Oh,
That's
I
my
like
favorite
that.
food.
Wait, green or black?
Black. Mm-hmm. Can of black olives every year.
We were also bowl of whole nuts with nutcracker, like with.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cute.
Yeah, why was that a thing? Does anyone know? Because my parents had that too. The big nutcracker and the walnuts. And I feel like
yeah,
walnuts are, I mean, I call them dirt nuts. I think they're just
they
gross.
do kind of
That's my
taste a little
personal
like dirt
opinion.
when they're straight out of the shell. I'll give you that.
Oh my goodness. So I got the oranges in the toe and the nuts. And if I were to go back and look at our family lore, it was, which is actually really timely. If you think about history has a way of repeating itself, maybe in different ways. My grandparents were part of the Depression. So
Yeah.
and when I would unpack Christmas ornaments, there were nuts that were painted with nail polish and whiteout, a red half and a white half with a little piece of yarn. And I really enjoyed when I was growing up making the popcorn and cranberry strings for the tree.
Yeah.
And the reason for that was there wasn't a lot of money and it wasn't that my grandparents didn't move on out of the Depression era and create beautiful, bountiful lives. It was a nod to the past and honoring their past and kind of remembering it. So my mom grew up, they had the nuts. And then when I was unpacking Christmas ornaments as a teenager, we still had those things, but it was a tradition with the oranges in the bottom of the toe and the nuts. And I really had a lot of fun with my grandparents cracking those nuts open. Had the little nut picks and you'd pull everything out. And some of the things that I learned from my grandparents were appropriate. Some of them were not, in regards to the names of nuts from years past.
Yeah.
However, I still have great memories of all of those things. And my kids actually, I don't do the same things, but we have made sure that we put fruit, or they don't want nuts in their baskets, but we always have some candies and some fruits in there as a nod to years past. But I think that's where it came from, Alysse, was my grandparents that went to my mom and then to me and now my kids. Kristin, what do you think?
Well, I love all the stories that we're sharing. I did want to ask this group, because we've been talking about Christian-oriented holidays. How have you all, as families grow and people change or people get added into it, how do you ensure either agnostic or additional preferences? Or even, we've mentioned Thanksgiving a few times, and certainly not everyone is from the US. So I'm curious how you all have seen artful blending of different respectful ways to bring people together.
We celebrate Hanukkah with our friends and family. So I think my kids prefer a Shabbat any day on a Friday. If they're invited to go, they're down. I mean, you had them at Shabbat. So
And challah bread.
Yeah. So the kids love, I mean, we do try to be inclusive. So while we grew up with a very traditional holiday, Santa and Christmas Eve celebrations at church, my kids celebrate Hanukkah and and any Shabbat that they get the opportunity, because we have friends that are Jewish. And we also, as we are a little tiny UN, because we have lots of different backgrounds that we welcome into the family, that is a tradition that we've started, is whether it's bring your favorite photo and share your favorite holiday memory and tell the family about it, or what is your favorite tradition? And we create space for anyone who comes into the family to share. We go from dumplings to we've done tamales, we've done lumpia throughout the years. Whatever the holiday tradition or festivity is for the people in our lives, we want to make sure that we learn about it and then honor it.
I feel like I've been really lucky to marry into a family where TJ's mother is just a born party hoster. She's so good at it. It's her thing. And Steve too, his dad. But they really turned Thanksgiving and Christmas into more open house style events. So that's kind of how we host them now. I mean, we do kind of, smaller stuff on Christmas Eve, but, and, we may or may not go to church. We usually don't. Sorry, God. There are games. There's always bingo on Thanksgiving. There's usually bingo on Christmas. We mix it up with some karaoke. We invite like all kinds of friends and family friends and like friends of our kids and old neighbors we had. I mean, I think we had like 40 people here at Christmas last year. So it was a little big. I don't know if we're going to go that big this year because I was a little tired. But I do, we try to model it after the way they do it, where it's just a house where everyone's welcome. The main goal is just to be together and eat food. There's all different kinds of food. My father-in-law is Swedish, so there's always a Swedish smorgasbord. Not many people hit that part of the buffet, but he loves it.
I thought you were about to say Swedish fish, and I kind of got excited.
We've actually never put Swedish fish on there, but there's
help the table.
Always pickled herring, the Swedish meatballs usually go. Those are always gone, and he makes glögg too, which is a Swedish thing. But, there are some years there's a prayer, some years there's not. Usually we just try to keep it very casual and come as you are. And that's why I always have these around. So if people want a little festive something, they can put it on, and just try to keep it open to everybody. And while we do have some traditions in the sense of my family coming, we also try to keep it, I guess, like a little flexible on the tradition, so that our kids and the people who are here and everybody that we're inviting know that it's, that the point is really just for us to be together and have a good time. So what about you, Amy? I'm curious about you guys.
Well, look, I mean, basically my husband grew up in Australia where it was hot as balls on Christmas Day.
Yeah, they had that hot
Right?
Christmas.
Yeah. And so, I mean, the only blending we really had to do that was even partially significant was he had to put on like sweaters and things, because everything that he had growing up, every memory was like in jorts. That is jorts with a J, by the way. And like, bro tanks and barbecues on Christmas. And we did things a little differently. We had the ham and all of that. So not too distinct of cultural blending per se, but I know it's coming because I have a lot of kids, and a lot of them will end up having partners at some point. And so I'm looking forward to, kind of seeing what's next, what's the next chapter hold. And, I hope that I'll hold space for that and not be one of those curmudgeon-y, like, No, this is a tradition. We always do this.
In
kind of
my
people.
day,
Yeah,
I'm always
Rolled
rolled it.
I'm always asking my kids after the holidays. I'm like, what worked and what didn't? Let's talk about it so that next year we can do it differently. But
You
I love
post-mortem your holidays?
oh my
yeah.
God,
Yes,
good
absolutely.
on
After action
you,
reports.
Dele.
Hello.
I do not ask
Libby,
my
I
kids
love
for
that
their
you brought up
opinions,
your
but I
Swedish
will.
father-in-law because being part of a military community and living outside of the US, my kids went to school in Italy and in Germany. And one of the things they do is host nation. So I loved when the kids would come home and tell me about the local holidays. And then we would try it, like putting shoes outside the door to have something put in it, or the Christmas mouse, or like whatever it was, because being part of a military community means you're globally mobile. They marry people wherever they're at. So we had this beautiful blending of holiday traditions. And that was one of the best things about it, was the kids coming home and sharing. That's why we do postmortems and after actions after the holidays, because they have strong opinions about what they like and don't like, or adding. So we were always adding the there's a Halloween witch in Germany. So wherever we were, whatever the traditions were, or a classmate, because if you had a classmate whose parent was not from Italy, Europe, or the US, then you have something else to throw into the mix. So it was always fun to hear the kids come home, tell us what they learned or what their friends were doing. And then we would try it because, I mean, hello. So yes, I do have my traditions, and the kids feel very strongly about some of those, just keeping them intact. We also love to play and learn something new and bring it in to see, now that we have a couple more cultural nuances that we get to layer into our holidays. It's fun.
Well, as we start to wind this down, there will be no post-mortem on how this episode went.
No.
I
No
am not
survey.
looking for any feedback or anything of the sort.
No. Except if you need stocking stuffer advice, I'm always here.
And I hear
No,
Amy's
or
busted
at
advice
Costco.
too.
You're always at Costco.
Or
Let's be
Costco
real.
advice. I've got lots of Costco advice too.
Yes. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this episode. But if you have a holiday tradition that you wanted to share with us that you don't think we covered, please feel free to email us or slide into our DMs. And if you have a different idea for the show, we would always love to hear from you.
And remember, every detail matters, every moment counts, and no matter what, the show must go on.
Thanks for listening to Beats Working, Winning the Game of Events, where we explore what it takes to make moments unforgettable.
If you're leaving with a little more inspiration, a little more perspective, and a big side ache from all of the laughing at our funny jokes, then we've done our job.
Beats Working is a Work P2P production. If you've enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platforms.
Your support helps us keep the magic going.